Today, gentlemen, I've been honored to coach you. More honored to take you into the field of battle. But there's another honor that's been bestowed upon you. And that is the mantle that comes with that question. Who am I? I am a champion! That's right.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Definitely appreciate the support. I wanted to drop a quick video when it comes to defending a particular formation. So first and foremost, when it comes to defense, I tend to think of it like a little bit differently. I would assume than the casual gamer. So like when an opponent, obviously you're waiting for them to pick a play, and they pick a play and you see their formation and personnel and you see trips, tight end, flex. I would imagine that most people think, okay, I want to play cover 3 zone, or I want to blitz this guy, so I'm going to pick this blitz, or whatever it is that you do. I tend to think more so in the shell coverage type of deal. So if you don't know what this sequence is, go check out my pre-snap read video where I kind of go over this. And basically every defense in the game falls under one of these 6 different shell coverages. So we've condensed the entire defensive playbook, or any play call in the game, down to just 6 plays, okay? And first and foremost, you can kind of condense it down even more. When you see a formation that you have to deal with, you think of the shell coverages that you would never play against it, right? So I can tell you right off the bat, cover 2 zone is something I would never play against trips, tight end, flex. Real quickly, it's mostly because the weaknesses of cover 2 get amplified even more just by this formation alone. It spreads it out. It creates more alleys. You get high load all over the place, overloaded all over the place, and this safety is put into a world of hurt with the 3 receivers on this side. They're able to attack vertically very easily. Okay, so 2 zone is something I would never play against this. So what I've done is, now I've taken out a 1/6 of my playbook. I've cut that out in regards to what I can call against this, right? So if I see a 2 zone play in my playbook that's, I don't know, there's your backers in your corner, and they got soft squat, and he's a blitz, or up or cook, and then flat, I wouldn't pick this either, right? Because again, this is just a variant of 2 zone. That's what I mean by every defense in the game falls under one of these guys, okay? So every play that has a 2 zone shell, 2 trap, 2 zone, cover 2 buster, cover 2 squat, doesn't matter. I don't pick it against this because of the weaknesses that are easily exploitable by this formation alone, right? I won't go over the other ones that I don't pick. I'm just going to go over the one that I pick the most against trips, tight end, flex. I think it's the best defense to play in the game against this. And it's cover 4 palms. Okay. So I'm gonna try to be real quick. I've tried to record this 1,000 times, and it's just too long for my liking, and I'm kind of really over analytical when it comes to stuff, or too detailed. So I kind of want to drive home the whole point. First and foremost, when you play regular cover 4 quarters, I think in terms of bubbles when I play cover 4 match defense, whether it be quarters or palms. And what I mean by that is, when you play a regular cover 4 quarters, the bubble is here. We get a 3-on-2 deal here. Okay, if you don't know what this is, basically when you play quarters, you're trying to get a +1 in the pass distribution and a +1 in the run distribution. That's why it's so impactful to play this defense and to do it right. I learned that from matchquarters.com. Definitely go check out that website, guys. That site is loaded with information when it comes to defense. I guarantee there's no way you can go to that site and leave and not learn something. Okay, so definitely go check them out. And real quickly, I want to say you should check out Kurt Warner on YouTube. He has his own channel. And it's loaded with information. I mean, you can sit there for probably days going through the amount of content he's dropped. And he does stuff with route combinations. He goes over, I'm talking vital stuff because he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He knows what he's talking about. He goes over protection schemes, throwing hot, all that stuff, man. I mean, that stuff is just, it's very interesting, and the stuff, you won't leave that channel without learning something, okay? And, obviously that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to learn, right? So, anyways, I like to do that. I like to give shout outs to different, sites so I can pass on that knowledge. It's kind of frustrating because I ran into a content creator. I was just scrolling through, and I guess it came up in the algorithm in my YouTube feed, and I checked it out. He dropped stuff on Madden, and he dropped a video like 2 days after I dropped a video, and he like quoted me like almost like verbatim, it seemed, right? So I'm like, it seems like this guy kind of was at my channel and didn't even like give me a shout out or nothing. It kind of passes it off as his own. So hopefully that was just like an anomaly, but it seemed kind of strange, right? So, I'm not going to be like that, guys. Like, if I run into some information from a spot you guys can be directed to, I definitely want to, I'm telling you, go to matchquarters.com, man. Go to matchquarters.com. Go check out Kurt Warner. There's some other sites on YouTube, some other guys on YouTube who, former NFL quarterbacks, loaded with information. I can't think of the guy's name, but maybe I'll drop it in another video. But anyways, I'm already going off the rails, as usual. So anyways, you put the bubble over these guys in regular match quarters, and you get a 3-on-2 deal here. So basically, the corner is reading 1 to 2, okay, and the safety is reading 2 to 1, and then you have your quarter flat player. So I won't go over what they do because I've been doing this and it's just making the video too long, right? But I just want to go over why Palms is, to me, the optimal coverage against this, right? And then the number 3 and the tight end here. This guy is Meg on this player, man, everywhere he goes. So what's left is these 2 players here, right? So if you think about it, it's almost like a 3. I mean, that's what quarters is all about. Your bubble's right here, right? So if the tight end goes underneath and inside, the safety takes him, and then the corner has to top the vertical route of number 3, okay? And this player right here wants to reroute this player so he doesn't get a free release up the field to help out his corner. Now, me personally, I do not like this defense against this at all, right? Now, I like quarters. Trust me, I love quarters, right? But against this, the way it's designed to deal with the vertical of number 3, I don't like it. If you think about it as an offense, right? If I was in a tournament and I was given film or, games of my opponent, and I noticed that he plays quarters coverage against this, and I saw that, I would easily design something like, how about we send this guy on out, this guy on like a curl, so he would rob that route, right? Okay. I would send him inside, so it forces him to take that route, and then I would just send him on a deep fade pattern. I don't care what happens, right? I don't like, there's just no, Ed Reed, I don't think would be able to make that. I don't care how much you jam him at the line. It's just, that's why I just don't like this, right? That's just one of the weaknesses of this to me. So maybe I got because I don't play quarters enough. Maybe that's not how they play it, but from what I've seen on the practice field, this is how they do it. Now, if this tight end goes vertical, then the corner takes him, and then the safety tops the vertical of number 3, so he has less ground to cover, but it's still pretty bad for me, right? So that's one problem, right? And the second problem I don't like about quarters is this formation alone. Okay, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Think about all the times you played against this formation. Who knows? 20,000 times, right? Ask yourself, which player gets the ball the least by far when your opponent plays this formation? It's not even close. And if you said this guy, it's the same for me as well. This guy almost never gets the ball. It's just the law of averages. He's further away from the quarterback, deeper throw. Usually when players pick this formation, I think these are the stats in real life too, right? Where this guy just never gets the ball in this formation. Usually they want to attack with these inside receivers or this tight end, and then they have the back to attack if all else fails, or if they're trying to get this player one-on-one with this player. And that's what formations is all about. Can you imagine if you had You know, you were running the Saints or the Panthers, bona fide backs who can do stuff in space. You can come out in this formation knowing you would get a one-on-one deal here, right? That's little things formations can do for you. Just this formation alone. If they're playing in a double high defense, a quarters like look, you can get, you know, one-on-one with that player here, right? So, anyways, so that's if this guy never gets the ball. Think about that. So think about the bubble in regular quarters coverage, right? If you never get the ball, then why should we invest resources to potentially double this player? Aren't we wasting resources there, right? This is what I mean. So like if you were to draw up a route combination like I just did, right, with this guy doing a curl, he would potentially get doubled by these two players, right? Because I'm reading 1 to 2. One's vertical, which is him, so I take him. And safety's reading 2 to 1. 2's underneath, so now I rob number 1, right? So we're doubling this guy, but he never gets the ball anyway, right? So that's problem number 2. So 1 is the vertical of this player. 2 is this guy never gets the ball, and we're investing resources to potentially double him, right? And 3, what I don't like is in the game, in big nickel over G, this player does not reroute this receiver. So he gets a free release up the field, which is horrible, right? As you see, they put their best receiver right here. Hey, just from this formation alone, you notice how you usually see your best receiver put right here? That tells you alone how this guy just never gets the ball, right? We're not going to put our best receiver over here because we're not throwing there, right? We're throwing inside, right? So how many problems is that? 1 is resource problem, invested to where we don't need it, right? 2 is the free release of 3. Okay. And another problem I don't like is when this player runs inside on a route, the safety has to man that route, but he's already kind of like out of position. A lot of times when you run a play and he runs inside, he's just late to defend that, right? So I don't like the defense of the tight end inside. Defense, tight end, inside. Okay? Another thing is the run. Notice how when they run, they never run this way, right? Because, you know, it's just the way it is. You really don't have a lot of counters going this way. When they run it inside this way. All right? It's just a higher likelihood of the run going to the strong side where the receivers are. Okay, based upon the position of the back. So it's not like we're wasting resources backside, but I think we can optimize how we defend the run as well, right? So I'll put optimize run. It's hard to write with this thing, guys. Okay, so that's 4 problems off what I can think of, you know, just off bat. And, you know, that's what we're running quarters. So what I do is I play palms instead. Now what palms does, think about that bubble over here, right, with regular quarters. Palms shifts the bubble. Instead of it being on that, those 2 players, it shifts it here. Okay, think about what that does alone. That first problem we went over where this guy never gets the ball, well, now we don't invest potential double team resources to that player. He will never get double teamed. We just put him in Meg. If you never get the ball, why waste a potential player over the top to deal with a double team here and potential route combinations, right? So if this player were to go out and this guy were to run a curl, he wouldn't be doubled. It would just one-on-one here, right? Our safety would be involved somewhere else, and that's what we want against this formation. So that's one problem just solved with palms, okay? Now the other problems you may say, well, you don't solve anything else, because in palms what happens is the safety is reading 2 to 3, and the corner is reading 3 to 2. No, the safety is reading 3 to 2, I'm sorry. And the corner is reading 3 to 2 as well, okay? If this player goes vertical, then the safety takes him man-to-man, and because I'm reading 3 to 2, since he's vertical, then I take the vertical route of number 2. It just plays out like regular quarters pretty much. What changes is when this player runs an out or a flat. When that happens, because I'm reading 3 to 2, I know that when he runs out or a flat, I aggressively jump that route. It's a trap coverage, right? I think they call it 2 read, etc. He jumps that coverage, okay? And then the safety, because he's reading 3-2 as well, once he sees him go out, he knows that the corner is going to jump that, so he takes the vertical route of number 2, right? It's almost like a cover 2 deal. But that's what I love about Quarters' defenses. It adapts. 1 minute it could be playing like cover 2 based upon the routes, and another minute it's playing like traditional, man-to-man deep down the field, right? So I won't go over the responsibility of this player, but one thing is he's not going to match 3 going out. He doesn't have to, because this player takes that, right? So if he goes out, then he really just plays more so in the hook area here as a zone defender, okay? Now, if this player goes in, the safety has to take him. But if this player goes vertical, corner takes him, okay? Now, think about the other problems, right? He still gets a free release, so that's a problem. Okay, and the other problem, I think it was, we didn't like the corner having the vertical route of number 3, right? Vertical of number 3. But that's solved, right? Because if he goes vertical, safety takes him. He doesn't have a lot of ground to cover, right? So that's solved with Palms. But we still have that free release problem. Another problem was this player being out of position on this underneath route, right, by the tight end. A lot of times he's late defending that, and this guy's just open going across. So that's still a problem. And then the run, 95% of the time, against some opponents, 100% of the time, if they run it, it's going here, right? And this defends the run pretty well, because these are box defenders, run fit defenders, right? But we can make it better, right? We can invest more resources there. So this is a potential problem, right? So what I do is I do a different alignment that solves all of these problems. So we kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Okay, let's see if I do it here. I don't think I did. So this is why the video was so long. I was showing all the route distributions, but maybe I can do that in another video, or there's other videos you guys can watch. Oh, okay, here's another thing. So here's the run fits. Did you know that you can change the run fits? Look where the run fits are. I'm responsible for this fit, this gap. He comes in here, right? And this guy's responsible for here if the run goes this way, right? Pay attention now. Watch how it changes. You remember how this player was responsible here? Well, now we've made his responsibility over here. And we do that by not just by shifting them over, but by slanting them different. When you slant your defensive line, it changes the run fits. It's very important. So if you ever, I think if you shift your defensive line over and you don't slant them a certain way as well, you could be getting gouged in the run because of that. Because let's say this player, let me go back a little bit. Look what gap he's responsible for, right? When you shift him over, he's still responsible for that gap, right? So let's see. Yeah, you see that? So let me go back. Let me go here. Okay, yeah. So we have this gap right here, this gap here, this gap here, this gap here. And when we shift them, they're still responsible for those same gaps, right? So essentially, when you shift them over, you've put them in a suboptimal position to defend those gaps, right? Because he's still responsible for those gaps. So what if you do shift them, I do believe you have to slant them a different way, which is what I do here. There. So I slanted them down, and now they're responsible for gaps in which they're in a better position to deal with. Now, this is why the run fit responsibilities of these players changed when I did that, because everything's anchored off of one another. So I'm already going off the rails about something I didn't want to go over, but the second level's run fit is anchored off of the first level's run fits, right? So you build from the first level up. If we're going to make this guy, this is your run fit, this is your run fit, then we have gaps we have to account for. So then that's when we work from the second level. And then the third level is anchored off of the second level, right? So that's why when we slant these guys to different run gaps, it changes the run fits of everyone else. Because then ours change, and then quite naturally ours may change, right? So with me shifting them this way, not only this defense already is good against the run, going this way, but we've made it even harder, right? Because now we shifted that way, and I slanted. Now, instead of this guy having to pose and run over here, he's just responsible here. But the shift alone will help against the run. Granted, you really didn't need help against the run against this formation, but we just made it a little bit more stronger. Because we're not afraid of a run going this way, right? So that's one thing. And then, so that's one thing that I do. And then the second thing that I do is I take that safety and I bring them here. And that's the end. That's what I do. And right there we've killed three birds with one stone. So this guy we've dealt with the formation alone. This guy, the vertical route, we've dealt with because the corner doesn't have to take the vertical. This player does. Okay. Thirdly, the run defense, we've made it even better because now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potential 6 bodies against max 4 offensive blockers over here, 1 being a receiver, right? We made it harder to run. And then post snap, what I do is I reroute this receiver. I jam him at the LOS. Because in the game, this player does not jam him, so he gets a free release on this player, but not anymore. So now I jam him at the LOS. So that's another problem I solve, right, by doing this. And then the last thing that we solved is, remember how being up here we're out of position against an inside route? Well, not anymore, right? Because now when this player goes inside, we have leverage on that. So a lot of times what you'll see me do is I'll jam this player and ride his hip upfield, and I'm eyeing this player as well. And if he goes inside, I leak off and I overtake that route. And I've gotten interceptions from doing that because the user snaps the ball, right? I wonder if I show it here. Well, I think I got clips I'm gonna go over. So yeah, I jam him, ride him upfield. The user sees this and he knows his tight end's gonna come out, and that's when I just leap off and I overtake. So think about all the things you do. I'm telling you, run this defense. Try it out. I'm telling you, if you're having problems against this formation, those problems will likely go away if you start utilizing this formation. Now, that's not to say that this formation, this defense doesn't have problems against this formation. Every defense has a weakness. Okay. And again, you see this number 3 receiver going upfield. We jammed him, so it makes it easier on the safety. And then the corner in this particular scenario, because this player goes in, he just zones out to his quarter responsibility, and he takes like a crosser. So this guy essentially gets double teamed and jammed at the line of scrimmage, right? So one way an opponent can attack this, and they rarely find it, okay? It's good to know that the weakness of the coverages that you run too, right? Because if you know the weakness and you run into somebody who does this, then you'll know how to attack it. I have yet to run into one person that does this though. I actually don't run into people that play palm. Well, I don't play trips tight end flex enough for me to see what people do. I'm really not a big fan of running this formation. But that's neither here nor there. But one weakness is this guy's one-on-one, right? But no one ever throws him, ever. So that's one weakness you can exploit if you run across this. Another weakness is this player here on a deep pattern. It's easier to throw a deep outside shoulder ball against this player. Sometimes it's wide open. And I notice this because it seems like this player, because he's keying 3-2, he's late to kind of turn and run with this player. And as you see, he's inside leverage pre-snap too. I think in real life, I'm not sure, I think he should be outside leverage because he wants to jump the number 3 on like a bubble or an out. Oh, here's another thing, guys. I knew about this last year because I was running palms. I remember I ran across a guy. I remember exactly. It was this formation. It was this formation last year. A guy was running some RPO play, right? Where fake the handoff, and then this guy would run on a little bubble action, right? And he ran it a couple of times. I'm like, he picked it again. I'm like, he's gonna pick it again. I was like, dude, I could run palms. That should be an interception, I was thinking. And the reason why is because, again, he's reading 3-2, and he's looking to jump the number 3 on an out. That's what this is made for, palms, right? He flares out for the bubble. You jump that. You can get a big hit or an interception. That's a pick 6, right? So it makes sense why he should be aligned, I think, outside leverage on this player, right? Because if he goes to try to block him, you kind of free outside and jump that little bubble, right? Maybe some coach him to be inside and jump that. I don't know, right? But it doesn't work in Madden, guys. You can throw that bubble all day long against palms. It doesn't work. So if you're wondering why RPOs are a little bit too strong against certain coverages, it's because the play that's designed to stop it doesn't. And that's because this guy is late attacking the out by the number 3. That's one weakness of palms in the game. It's not the actual coverage itself. It's because the Madden doesn't have it coded correctly as far as him being aggressive on the out, which is annoying. Okay? But I just love palms, man. It's just, it has so many answers, right? So if they ever get it right in the game, you know, it can be pretty devastating for opponents, okay? So that's that. Maybe I'll show you some clips of me in game running it. But I'm telling you guys, just start running this stuff. I'm telling you, about 98% of the time, I run this against this formation, and either guys get out of this formation and run something else, or they just struggle the entire game. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. Maybe I'll go to some clips.